The story begins with a scene being filmed for a YouTube channel. Kong Dokil, a B-rank hunter, runs a channel with his team called We Solve Everything. He's rude and ill-mannered. He yells at the cameraman to start recording, and the cameraman promptly turns on the camera. Kong introduces himself and announces to his viewers that today's episode will showcase strategies against upper C-ranked monsters known as Arachne. He points toward the monsters and explains, as you can see, Arachne live in groups just like spiders. In fact, they're classified as a spider-type species. While his teammates prepare to face the monsters, Kong remains focused on filming. He adds, "These monsters are completely different from the spiders we know on Earth." Drawing his sword, he demonstrates, these creatures don't attack immediately. They shoot webs first. Suddenly, the monsters rush toward them. His teammates panic. Kong shouts that the monsters are charging. One of the beasts lunges at Kong and strikes. He yells and fends off the piercing attack, then screams at the cameraman to stop recording. Our boy Saiwu serves as the team's strategist, cameraman, and editor. He appears frightened but responds firmly that he cannot stop filming. The footage continues as the Arachne demonstrate their typical hunting style. They bind their prey with webs before injecting poison to slowly kill them. That's why they usually don't charge recklessly. Kong manages to repel the monster's attack and finally kills it. Frustrated, he hurls insults at Saiwu and loudly declares that he'll deal with him later. Saiwu remains terrified. Using his ultimate technique, Kong defeats the remaining monsters. Standing triumphantly atop one of the beasts, Kong begins to brag. But then his temper flares. Yelling at Saiwu, he demands, "Didn't you say Arachne shoot webs first?" Saiwu trembles in fear. He thinks to himself that if the Arachne are charging like this, it must be a last resort, something they only do when they're already in a desperate situation. Kong grabs our boy by the collar and demands, "Are you seriously going to keep handling things like this?" Saiwu apologizes. But Kong isn't satisfied. Apologizing isn't enough. "I almost died because of you," he shouts, delivering a brutal punch to Saiwu's stomach. Saiwu screams in pain and collapses. Kong sneers and asks if Saiwu has ever done proper research. Then, muttering under his breath, he complains, "Guys without characteristics are always a problem." It is then narrated that a characteristic is a special ability granted upon awakening, commonly referred to as a unique power. Manag, another teammate, glares at Kong in disgust. He thinks to himself that although Saiwu is awakened, his ability lacks a proper characteristic, making him completely unremarkable and nearly useless in the hunter world. Manag reflects that in order to survive, Saiwu clings to hunters, performing only monster analysis and strategic planning. Meanwhile, Kong scratches his ear and rants that he nearly died because of that bastard Saiwu. He brags that if he hadn't been there, the entire team would have perished. But his teammates remain silent. They're trembling with fear. Suddenly, a monster growls. A teammate with black hair urgently tells Kong to look behind him. A massive monster creeps toward Kong, nearly looming over his head. Without warning, it slams into the ground nearby. Kong screams, "Run!" It's an elite monster, much bigger than the previous ones. An elite monster is a double-mutated species that evolves from a normal one. It growls and charges. Kong and his 4 teammates flee for their lives. Saiwu lags behind. The monster is nearly upon him. Kong glances back and mutters to himself, "Are we really going to die here?" Then he makes a horrifying decision. We need bait. As Saiwu turns around to see the charging beast, Kong kicks him hard. Our boy falls helplessly in front of the monster. Kong sneers, "This all happened because you botched the research. You should take responsibility." Left alone, Saiwu stares in horror as the monster's footsteps echo above him. His eyes widen, his body shivering uncontrollably. He mutters, I can't move." The monster growls and prepares to strike. Closing his eyes tightly, Saiwu wonders, "Is this how I die?" Suddenly, he recalls the final moments he spent with his mother, lying weakly on a hospital bed, taking her last breath. He remembers how she had grasped his hand and asked him to protect Sioa, his little sister. His eyes snap open. "I can't die here," he says to himself. "I have to live for Sioa." Gritting his teeth, he grabs a sword and rises to his feet. The monster snarls. Saiwu roars, charging at it. "I have to survive." Just then, something crashes nearby, an explosive impact. Our boy is flung backward and lands hard. His sword also drops. He yells out, "What is happening?" Suddenly, he looks to the side. A hero is sitting next to him. Saiwo is stunned. The hero is wearing a long gown and glares at our boy, wondering to himself, who is this guy? Just then, another crash shakes the area as blinding light bursts forth. Both Saiwo and the hero turn toward the source of the blast. A humanoid figure with a demonic appearance emerges, flickering a purple flame in his hand. The demon roars, demanding to know where the hero has hidden the thing. Leaping down from a rocky ledge, the demon snarls. Without hesitation, the demon lunges forward. At the same moment, the hero also charges at the demon. Both release strange roars as they clash violently. Watching the scene, Saiwo wonders why they are fighting. As their blows collide, a massive explosion shakes the ground. Saiwo, overwhelmed, tries to shield himself. He appears completely lost, having no idea what is happening around him. The demon slides backward and lets out an eerie laugh. The hero frowns in response. Saiwo assumes, watches, sensing an overwhelming presence, so intense that even Arachne and elite monsters would tremble before it. The demon and the hero are unbelievably powerful, relentlessly attacking one another with explosive energy. Each impact sends waves of force through the air, irritating our boy, who clenches his teeth while watching the chaos unfold. The demon suddenly jumps into the air and delivers a crushing kick to the hero. With a burst of energy, the hero crashes into the rocky terrain. The demon roars again, shouting for the hero to reveal the location of the hidden object and declaring that his resistance ends now. It becomes clear the demon is after something. He repeatedly demands it, but the hero stands tall and unyielding. He firmly responds, "It's far from over." With that, the hero launches a series of fireballs toward the demon. The demon sneers and counters with a purple energy sphere. The two attacks collide, unleashing a tremendous explosion. For the first time, the demon's expression shifts from rage to fear. If this continues, he mutters, "I won't make it out of here alive." The hero laughs coldly. "I don't care," he replies. Then he turns his head towards Saiwo. The hero speaks directly to him. "I've kept the possibility open. I'm sorry you got involved." Saiwo stares at him in disbelief. As the energy builds, it begins to form a power orb, crackling with instability. A massive explosion erupts. A faint, peaceful smile forms on the hero's face, while the demon howls in rage. The shockwave flings our boy backward with incredible force. Just before vanishing, the hero calls out to Saiwo, "Take care of it." Saiwo stares at him in shock. After the explosion, everything disappears. When the smoke clears, Saiwo slowly rises, amazed. Beneath his feet, he notices something, a mobile phone-like device. He picks it up and stares at it curiously. Why is there a smartphone here, he wonders. As he touches the screen, a message appears. Verifying new administrator. Everything feels strange and surreal. Moments later, another notification appears. Access route confirmed. Administrator succession complete. Saiwo's eyes widen. What is happening? Suddenly, a series of ding-ding sounds chime from the device. The screen glows brighter as an unfamiliar app launches, GodTube. A message flashes. Welcome, Administrator, to GodTube. Saiwo blinks, confused. He has no idea what GodTube is. Kong and his team somehow manage to escape the dungeon. They collapse under the trees, panting heavily. Kong groans. How can I be this unlucky? Running into an elite monster in an upper C-rank dungeon, it makes no sense. One of his teammates smirks and sarcastically thanks Kong, saying that thanks to him, they all survived. Another sneers, using our boy as bait was a brilliant move. The team laughs and gives each other thumbs up. A guy in a black shirt compliments Kong, telling him he's incredibly skilled. Kong grins and replies, "There's a reason our channel is called We Solve Everything. You've got to think fast in situations like that." Suddenly, our boy Saiwo steps out of the dungeon. He calls out to Kong from behind. Kong freezes in shock when he hears his voice. Saiwo calls him a bastard and begins walking toward him. As Kong turns around, Saiwo throws a punch at his neck. Kong blocks it and counters with a powerful blow to Saiwo's face. "You think in F rank like you can fight me?" Kong sneers. "I don't know how you survived, but my plan worked." Saiwo gasps for air, his body trembling. Kong lets out a bizarre laugh. Besides, I was too lazy to find a new editor anyway. Breathing heavily, Saiwa mutters, "You're insane." Then, with defiance in his voice, he asks, "How could you expect me to work with someone who tried to kill me?" Kong presses his knee into Saiwa and says coldly, "You were the one who begged and cried because your sister was dying. I pitied you and helped. Don't forget that." He lifts his hand to slap Saiwa, but this time, Saiwa blocks it. "If you really want me to accept that," Saiwa says, "then don't miss a single shot. That habit stuck with me because of your constant nagging." I didn't know if it'd ever be useful, but maybe it was. Saiwa then pulls out the camera. "If I edit the footage I left behind and upload it properly, the video could go viral." Kong chuckles darkly. "I could kill you right now." Saiwa narrows his eyes. "You might kill me, but you'll go to jail. And all the work you put into this channel, gone." "Honestly, that sounds good to me." He pauses, then adds, "Let's just go down together." But Kang's face hardens. "If that video ever gets out, your sister won't be safe." Our boy falls silent. Kong turns to his teammates and says, "As soon as we get back, we're finding a new editor." His teammates exchange uneasy glances. Kong growls again, "Don't waste time. Get the gear." Saiwa clenches his fists, anger rising. With a calm but firm voice, he says, "If you ever touch Sioa, I don't know what I'll do." Later, our boy returns home. Sitting in his room, he turns on the phone and launches GodTube, the channel of the gods. He scrolls through the interface and reflects. YouTube is a video hosting site where anyone can upload or watch videos freely. Among all the different types of content, hunter channels are the most dominant. He watches one user at the Saint, who wields a holy sword with true damage, purchased from Hephaestus. Another user at Odin is shown as the Serpent Slayer, defeating Jormungandr in just 12 minutes. Many gods from mythology and figures from folklore run their own channels. Staring at the screen, Saiwa asks himself, are they really all running YouTube channels? He remembers the hero and wonders why the man left the smartphone behind after the battle. Eventually, he sighs and tosses the phone aside. I still can't figure it out. But as he gazes at the device again, a new thought strikes him. If people like them actually exist and run channels, they'd probably start with hundreds of millions of subscribers. He clenches his fists. I'm going to see them again. Looking at the phone, he murmurs, "This thing's well made." Feeling bored, he scrolls and clicks on a video titled Righteousness, Faith, and Decisive Judgment. A prompt appears. Become a member to watch while acquiring the Insight trait. Without thinking, he clicks. A new message pops up. You have subscribed to Zhuge Liang's channel. You have acquired Insight. Saiwa blinks, surprised. He wonders, is an upper S rank just a theory? Supposedly, only the heroes who fought the invasion of the demonic realm, there were only 13 of them. Suddenly, an imaginary screen appears midair. Saiwa stares in amazement. Did I just gain a power by subscribing to a channel? He looks at his hands. Nothing feels different. Maybe because it's Insight. If it affects perception or intelligence, it might not show right away. He squints at the screen. In a case like this, testing it visually might not help. Deciding to investigate further, he subscribes to a second channel, Hercules. The channel description reads, Personal Training Sessions. Today's workout, Demolishing Zeus' House. Saiwa taps Subscribe. You have subscribed to Hercules' channel. You have acquired Super Strength SS rank. Now he's subscribed to 2 channels and has 1 subscription left. Saiwa is stunned. He punches the air in excitement and accidentally smashes his laptop. Saiwa shrieks loudly, overwhelmed, and wonders if he has really acquired an SS rank ability. A notification pops up confirming Super Strength activated. Proficiency increased. Current proficiency, 1%. Sitting cross-legged, Saiwa exclaims, "This is amazing. I actually gained an SS rank ability just by subscribing." He scratches his head while staring at the phone, muttering, "I still don't understand what GodTube even is." Another notification appears. Insight has slightly increased. Proficiency, 0.1%. Saiwa grips the phone tightly and gazes at the screen. Do I have to reach 100% proficiency to fully unlock the upper S rank trait by training with Hercules? Curious, our boy clicks on Hercules' video. It begins with a hulking, muscular figure, Hercules, landing in a city. He wears a lion mask on his head, and the people scatter in fear. Hercules lifts a massive pillar with ease and shouts, "I love this tingling feeling." Energy bolts crackle around him as he roars strangely. Terrified, Siwa shrieks, and his phone nearly slips from his hand. "There's no way I'm doing personal training with that guy," he gasps, quickly pressing the unsubscribe button. Now I get why he only has one subscriber. But a message appears, "Subscription cancellation is unavailable." From within the screen, Hercules points directly at Siwa. "You weakling," he growls, laughing. "You came here willingly. Don't think you can just walk away?" Panicking, Siwa taps unsubscribe repeatedly, but the same message keeps flashing. "Subscription cancellation is unavailable." Once a subscription is used, it cannot be canceled. His temper flares. "Why the hell is cancellation impossible?" he yells, furiously tapping the screen again. Another notification appears. "You have subscribed to 2 out of 3 channels." The video ends with Hercules smirking. "See you tomorrow," he says. "Get ready to train." Suddenly, Siwa's actual phone rings, pulling him out of the madness. It's Kong Dokyo. Siwa mutters angrily, "Why is he calling me?" He answers with irritation, "What do you want?" Kong laughs on the other end. "I can't believe you picked up. I thought you blocked me." "What do you want, Kong?" "I'm calling to offer you a job." "Did you just call to start a fight?" Siwa snaps. "No, really. This is business," Kong insists. "You're not worth my time." Kong chuckles. "Weren't we just working together recently? I'm not messing around with you anymore." "Well then, how about this? The SH Group has offered a collaboration." That catches Siwa's attention. SH Group, he repeats. South Korea's #1 company. Not long ago, their granddaughter awakened as a hunter with 2 S-rank characteristics. As Kong talks, Siwa processes the information. So SH Group is finally entering the hunter industry? "They're testing the waters with my channel," Kong adds proudly. "This collaboration is their first step." Siwa replies bluntly, "I'm not interested." Kong pushes further. "What if I said 5 million won per video?" Siwa repeats, 5 million. His eyes narrow. Kong presses on. "Still not interested." "That's 10 times your usual fee. A win-win for both of us." "How much do you want, then?" Kong asks. Siwa smirks. 50 million. Kong chokes. "Are you insane?" "That's about 40,000 US dollars, Siwa states calmly. Kong clenches his teeth in fury. He's figured out that SH Group is paying me a fortune. Suddenly, a notification pops up. Sharp Insight has increased by 2%. Siwa laughs and mocks him. "Should I guess why SH Group chose me and not another S-rank hunter?" Kong grumbles. "Go on." "It's because their granddaughter awakened with 2 characteristics. Chairman Hante-san won't just sit back. He wants her to learn the fundamentals of being a hunter." "And what's the foundation of being a hunter?" Siwa asks. "Monster strategy," he answers himself. "That's what our channel provided. We gained over 200,000 subscribers. And the real reason it worked? My strategies." He adds, "Technically, the CO didn't approach you. SH Group is interested in my monster knowledge." Kong scoffs. "Still, 50 million is outrageous." Siwa crosses his arms. "Do you disagree?" Kong grinds his teeth. "Fine. If I have to, I'll pay out of my own pocket. I'll take a loan if I must." He hits the speaker button and puts the phone down. Smirking, Kong mutters to himself, "If he won't do it, I'll find someone else." The next day, Kong takes our boy with him into a B-rank dungeon. The two exchange an awkward glance. Siwa breaks the silence. "When are you going to deposit the rest of the money?" Kong, staring at his phone, replies rudely, "I told you. I'll send it after we're done." Then, shifting the topic, he abruptly asks, "When is Han-Charon arriving?" Suddenly, the sound of footsteps from behind grabs their attention. A pretty girl approaches and introduces herself. "I'm Han-Charon," she says. "I'll be joining you for this raid. Let's move." Siwa watches her in surprise. She's stunning, but looks hard to approach. Still, he reminds himself, as long as I get paid, I'm good. Han takes the lead, and the rest of the team follows. Our boy silently reassures himself, just focus on the job. Soon, they come across a hulking beast. Its muscular frame reflects a dark, demonic light. That's a dark troll, Saiwa mutters. Han studies the creature carefully. Kong chimes in, dark trolls are among the strongest upper-class B-rank monsters. They're almost capable of regeneration. He continues, parroting the strategy Saiwa had explained to him earlier. If you attack without knowing what you're doing, you'll die. Before he finishes, Han draws her sword and dashes toward the beast with remarkable bravery. With a swift leap, with a single strike, she takes down the monster, then lands gracefully on the ground. Kong and our boy stare at her in awe, and remarks casually, "That was easy." Kong laughs, impressed. "You understood perfectly, even though I only gave a rough explanation. You really are an S-rank hunter." "You're too kind," Han replies, a little awkwardly. Saiwa gazes at the weapon and asks, "That sword, it's one of the legendary Aurelian weapons, isn't it?" "Aurelianes, the world's greatest blacksmith," he adds. "How much does it cost?" Han glances at the sword. "About 20 billion won." Kong and Saiwa both freeze, shocked by the price. The intricate patterns along the blade seem to shimmer, almost reflecting the sword's worth. Pointing ahead, Han says, "Killing one troll isn't enough to get a full read of the situation. Let's keep moving." About an hour later, as they venture deeper into the dungeon, Han suddenly senses something. Looking up, Han mutters, "I'm getting a better sense of things now. Seems there are no more trolls. In other words, it's time to wrap up." Kong bows slightly and shakes her hand. "Thanks for your hard work." Han nods. "I'll be heading out now." Kong watches her leave, regretting his missed opportunity. "This could have been my shot to get scouted by the SH Hunter Guild, and now I'll probably just end up giving Saiwa 50 million. Saiwa smirks, sensing Kang's silent frustration. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble. Heavy stomps echo through the cave. Han looks up. "What's that sound?" Kang's eyes light up. "This is my chance. Judging by that weight, it's probably an elite monster." But when the towering skull-faced creature appears, our boy gulps. "No, that's not an elite monster. That's a boss." The monster roars. Then it charges directly at Han. She raises her sword and blocks the attack, but only for a moment. Kong, now visibly nervous, watches his teammates start running for the exit. The monster slams into the dungeon wall, causing rocks to fall from above. Debris crashes down, but the team continues their frantic escape. Kong bolts toward the exit. Forget SH Group, he thinks. I just need to survive. He sprints faster. I can't die here. I've got to get out now. Han stumbles, clearly shaken. The monster lands in front of Kong, cutting off his path. Panicked, Kong freezes, but Han dives under the beast's strike and saves him just in time. Kong shrieks in terror as Han counters with a fierce slash, though it barely holds back the monster. The impact throws her back. She crashes into a rock wall and collapses, groaning in pain. Before she can recover, the monster swings again. Han barely dodges. She leaps onto its body, aiming near the head, but her attack is ineffective. The beast glares at her with its glowing demonic eyes and lashes out again. Han keeps dodging, barely staying ahead of the attacks, but they're fast. Too fast. Finally, the monster catches her. She blocks its crushing blow with everything she has. Her body trembles under its weight. Watching, Saiwa's heart sinks. We can't win. Even with 2 S-rank characteristics, Han is still inexperienced. The monsters strike at her continuously, slamming her into the ground. Our only choice is to leave her behind and run, Saiwa thinks, shaking with fear. If I don't run, I'll die. Saiwa's face trembles with fear. He wonders if he should trust the SS-rank super strength granted by GodTube, even though he still doesn't fully understand how GodTube works. Meanwhile, Kong is shrieking in panic. Without hesitation, he dashes past Saiwa and runs toward the exit. Our boy frowns as he watches Kong flee and recalls the moment when Kong threw him in front of a monster and abandoned him. He remembers Kong blaming him for messing up the research while he lay helpless on the ground. On the other side, Han is doing her best to fight, but she's clearly losing strength. Saiwa murmurs to himself, "We can't win." The voices in his head scream, "Run. Leave the cave." But instead of fleeing, Saiwa rushes forward and yells to the others to escape. "Run. If you stay, you'll die for nothing." Yet he doesn't leave. He plants himself before the monster, trying to draw its attention away from Han. He knows he could die, but if he doesn't abandon Han, he'll prove he's nothing like the cowardly Kong. The monster growls with rage. Han trembles beneath the beast's merciless attacks, her strength almost completely drained. Then Saiwa charges forward and throws a powerful punch with everything he has. His fist radiates a divine light, just like Hercules from GodTube. Han, startled, leaps into the air, and the monster's arm paralyzes briefly from the blow. The creature snarls and turns its demonic glare towards Saiwa. Han watches in disbelief. Did that monster just get deflected by his punch? She thinks, who is this guy? She's stunned by the raw power Saiwa just displayed. His body glows with a faint blue aura, the aura of Hercules. Saiwa feels a surge of energy rushing through him. He stares at his palm in awe. Power is radiating from within. Energy bursts from his hands like crackling sparks. The monster roars and launches another brutal attack. But Saiwa catches it, stopping the blow with his own strength. A wave of blue energy ripples through the monster's arm, halting it in place. Saiwa gestures to Han. Now. Han nods and leaps onto the monster's body. With precise movement, she strikes at the monster with her sword, landing it. Then, spinning with incredible speed, she runs along the monster's arm and takes down the monster with her decisive strikes. Saiwa stares, amazed. Is it over? Just then, a transparent screen appears before him. Insight has increased, but Saiwa's expression darkens. Something's wrong. He recalls, this boss monster is a type of mutant. It undergoes 2 transformations. Its body naturally changes and regenerates. It growls again. Watch out, Saiwa shouts. The mutated beast grabs Han with its massive hand. She screams in fear, struggling to break free. Her attempts to escape fail. Saiwa mutters, if Han dies here, it's all over. He clenches his fists. If the traits I got from GodTube are real, if this power truly belongs to me, I have to act. He decides to buy her some time. Trembling, Han screams, run, but Saiwa charges forward and grabs the monster's enormous fingers. Aim for its heart, he shouts. With great effort, Han breaks free from the monster's grip and falls to the ground. I got it, she yells. Breathing hard, she dashes toward the beast again. Saiwa, trust me, and get out of here. But Saiwa holds tight to the monster's fingers, sneering. Not a chance. Han charges, landing a strike at the monster's heart. Saiwa grits his teeth. There's no time to explain everything, but she has to know. He shouts, ogres have 2 hearts. Han's eyes widen. 2. She quickly understands. If he's right, using her intuition and 6th sense, she reacts instantly. The monster swings its arm at her, but Han leaps high into the air, dodging the blow. She spins and strikes again, this time striking at the 2nd heart, and then the monster falls to the ground. Saiwa charges forward, roaring, his body glowing with the intense blue light of Hercules. Han lands behind him as our boy leaps high and throws a crushing final blow, and finally defeats the monster with his powerful strike. Han wipes the sweat from her forehead and breathes deeply. They've won. She turns to call our boy, but suddenly collapses, falling unconscious. Han rushes over to him, worried. Without hesitation, she takes him to the hospital. Around noon, Saiwa slowly opens his eyes and finds himself lying in a hospital bed. Disoriented, he glances around, then freezes when he sees Han Charon sitting nearby. Saiwa stammers, "Why are you here, in the hospital?" Han replies calmly, "You were injured pretty badly, so I brought you here. Your muscles were torn, and your ribs were broken." Then she leans in slightly and asks, "More importantly, how are you feeling now?" She's sitting quite close to him. Saiwa feels flustered. He doesn't answer right away, and silently thinks she's way too close. Suddenly, Han touches his forehead. Saiwa blushes uncontrollably. He stares at her, completely speechless. "You have a bit of a fever," she murmurs. After a pause, she adds, "By the way, we haven't introduced ourselves yet." She looks at him expectantly. Saiwa quickly replies, "I'm Saiwa." He hesitates, glancing at her face. Didn't she already know my name? She must have seen my details when I was admitted. But Han smiles faintly and says coldly, "I wanted to hear it from you directly." Saiwa gives a confused look. Can she read my mind? He wonders. Maybe people weren't exaggerating when they said her sixth sense is an S-rank trait. Han continues, I know you just woke up and must be confused. But I have a proposal. Siwa blinks. Proposal? Han nods. I want you to join my team. He's stunned. Me? Join your team. Correct. It's because you helped defeat the ogre. Then, without hesitation, she adds, how about an annual salary of 1 billion won? Siwa's eyes go wide. Wait, did you say 1 billion? She confirms with a nod. And you'll also receive a share of the profit from any monster parts we collect. Siwa trembles with joy. This is insane. 1 billion won salary plus loot shares? Han goes on. I also heard your sister is suffering from hemathanatos, and she's being treated at SH Hospital. I can cover her treatment while she's there. Siwa narrows his eyes. And what do you want in return? Han answers plainly, I want you to develop monster strategies for every raid I participate in. After delivering her proposal, she stands up and leaves the hospital room. The ward lights are dim. Siwa lies in bed, resting. Did I make the wrong decision? He wonders. He recalls rejecting her offer earlier. In response, Han had said, let me know if you change your mind. You saved my life, so I'll still cover your sister's medical bills. Siwa stares at the ceiling, thinking, I'm going to trust the potential of GodTube, the insight and super strength I gained there. This power might be real. He reminds himself, GodTube is legit. It's a channel of the gods, so powerful that even S-rank hunters can't compare. He sighs, trying to reassure himself. There's no need to rush into a deal. I shouldn't tie myself down when I have this much potential. My priority is to find a way to cure Sioa's illness. Siwa thinks of Ming Sioa, his little sister. Years ago, she was caught in a dungeon break and contracted hemathanatos, a rare disease where the blood dies. Modern medicine can't cure it. At best, it can only manage symptoms. Maybe if I gain more traits through GodTube, maybe I can cure her. But then comes the reality. The ingredients for treatment are ridiculously expensive, especially for rare diseases. I'll need a lot of money, he mutters. He sits up and grabs his scratched-up laptop. First things first. I need to finish editing that 50 million won video. As he plays the footage, his eyes widen at the sight of Han's sword. That's the 20 billion won sword she mentioned. Looking at it closely, Siwa thinks, if I could make and sell gear like this, I'd be a millionaire or even a billionaire in no time. He starts imagining himself inside a metallurgy workshop, lost in his thoughts. Then reality kicks in. I still have one subscription left. He checks the app. To gain more subscriptions, he need to purchase membership. That irritates him. He scowls at the screen. Membership cost 100 million won. There's only one answer, he says to himself. I need to learn metalworking and start making weapons. Scrolling further, he finds a user named Hephaestus. The video title reads, 99 rounds of reforging with Hephaestus, a challenge to reforge Thor's stolen Mjolnir. Siwa uses his final free subscription. A notification appears. You have subscribed to the Hephaestus channel, SS rank, Divine Metallurgy. On the screen, Hephaestus appears, hammering glowing red-hot iron into shape. Each strike echoes with divine intensity. Hephaestus roars, you can't fear failure when reforging. In the video, he adds gruffly, kids these days lack guts. But you, Siwa, prepare yourself. Your weapon might break. Siwa grows anxious. Why should I expect my weapon to break? And why do all these gods act so strangely? Another screen notification flashes. Flawed knowledge in metallurgy corrected. Divine metallurgy proficiency slightly increased. A few days later, in the morning, Siwa is deep into his workout routine. He's hanging from a pull-up bar, performing one-handed pull-ups. His physique has noticeably improved. He's leaner, stronger, more energetic. A pair of nurses stand at a distance, watching him. He looks a lot more toned now, one nurse says. The other shrugs. I didn't really notice. Overhearing them, Siwa wonders, am I really that toned now? The younger nurse continues. The doctor said his recovery has been unbelievably fast, even for a hunter. He might be discharged tomorrow. Siwa is caught off guard. Tomorrow? That's sooner than I thought. He mutters to himself, I better squeeze in a few more workouts before I leave. Suddenly, another notification appears. Super strength proficiency slightly increased. Current proficiency 1.01%. Saiwa thinks, if I overuse super strength, my muscle fibers could tear again. I can't afford to slack on my training. Just then, Sio arrives. She calls out to him cheerfully from behind. Saiwa turns and smiles warmly at the sight of her. I heard you're being discharged tomorrow, she says. Yeah, Saiwa replies with a grin. Looks like I'm getting out sooner than expected. Sio takes a deep breath. When you were first brought in, you were in such terrible shape. I was so worried. She pauses, then adds, the hospital said you'd need at least a month to recover. How are they letting you out after just a week? Saiwa quietly notes, she's upset I'm being discharged so early. He smiles and gently pats her head. Don't neglect your own treatment just because I'm leaving. You still need to stay strong. And don't worry about the money. Sio nods. I know. And I'm thankful to Han. Because of her, I'm getting treatment for free. At the mention of Han's name, Saiwa chuckles. Sio continues, she even asked me to be her friend. She said I remind her of her younger sister, even though she doesn't have one. Saiwa raises an eyebrow. Wait, you met Han? Sio giggles. Of course. She's visited me a few times. Saiwa scratches his head, embarrassed. She came to visit you, and I missed it? How? She usually comes when you're out exercising, Sio explains. She always asks how you're doing. Saiwa falls silent, thoughtful. Even though she's busy with SH Hunter Guild duties, she still made time to visit Sio. Is she trying to recruit me? Sio laughs teasingly. I think Han's interested in you. No way, Saiwa quickly denies. That's not true at all. Sio rolls her eyes. You really don't get how popular you are, do you? Even the nurses talk about you every day. Saiwa, slightly flustered, says, all right, that's enough. Don't get any weird ideas. Go back inside. I've got something to do. He turns away. Sio notices his sudden shift in tone. Cooler, more distant. Saiwa mutters to himself, I have to make money. Saiwa enters an F-rank dungeon. He looks around cautiously, glancing at his trembling hand. I'm nervous. It's my first time hunting a monster directly, he mutters. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps grabs his attention. A group of green, demonic-looking beasts, Goblin Den, emerges. Some carry stones, which they begin hurling at Saiwa. He quickly dodges to the side, sneering. I know goblins act in groups, but this is a bit too much. Now the goblins wield antique hammers, roaring as they charge at him. One goblin swings its hammer, but Saiwa evades the attack and counters with a powerful punch to its stomach. The goblin flies into the air. But I might be stronger than I thought. The other goblins freeze, stunned by their comrade's sudden defeat. Saiwa cracks his neck, rubs his wrist, and steps forward with a smirk. Come on, then. All of you. After defeating them, Saiwa gathers the goblin parts and heads to a metallurgy workshop. He dumps the pile in front of the shop and asks the owner of Sio's workshop, Sipelguang, how much can I get for all this? Sio, a young and handsome metallurgy specialist, scowls at the heap. I asked for materials, not garbage, he snaps. What are you expecting me to make from this? Saiwa says nothing, simply staring at him. Sio sighs. Fine, I'll show you how smelting works. Follow me, and pay attention. He leads Saiwa inside. Hammering isn't just about strength, he explains. I spent most of my youth studying metallurgy. 20 years later, I became a specialist. As Sio hammers glowing iron, flames rise from the forge. Good materials don't guarantee A rank or S rank gear, he warns. You've got to know what you're doing. Saiwa watches, amazed. Sio isn't just skilled, he's passionate. He must have awakened with the craftsmanship trait. After a while, Sio hands Saiwa a hammer. I've shown you how it's done. Now it's your turn. Saiwa nods and steps forward. Sio stands behind, observing carefully. He's not here to commission a weapon, Sio thinks. He even offered to rent the workshop. No one's ever asked that before. He's the first. Out of curiosity, Sio had agreed. As Saiwa begins hammering, Sio studies his movements. People these days think metallurgy is easy, thanks to video games, Sio reflects. But it took me 20 years to get here. This kid probably thinks it's simple because of some YouTube tutorials. But as he continues watching, Sio's expression changes. Wait, I might have misjudged him. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Kim So-eun, CEO of So-eun Trading Company, steps in carrying a large bag. CEO, still inspecting a sword blade, glances up. "Is that you, Kim So-eun?" She laughs. "Obviously. Who else would come to your sweaty little workshop? You could have sent someone," CEO mutters. "Why show up in person? This deal is with the best blacksmith in South Korea." "I had to come myself," she replies. "Typical flattery," CEO grumbles. Kim smirks and sets the bag down. She shows CEO the materials he requested. "They're over there," CEO says. "The blades are sharp. Be careful while checking them." Kim chuckles. These are for the SH group, after all. As they talk, the steady clanging of a hammer interrupts their conversation. Annoyed, Kim turns toward the sound. "Can you stop that? We can't hear ourselves talk." Saiwo instantly halts his work. Kim glances at him. Who is this guy? He looks like an idiot. And what is he even making? Curious, she picks up one of the swords he was working on. Running her fingers along the rough blade, she asks CEO bluntly, "Did this kid actually make this?" CEO nods. "What do you think?" Kim scoffs. "The blades are dull. The shape is rough. Completely unusable." CEO chuckles. "You wouldn't believe it, but that sword was made entirely from goblin and kobold." Kim stares at him, stunned. "Seriously? And the materials were in awful condition," CEO adds. It's also the first time he's ever used a hammer. Kim's eyebrows rise. "Is he your apprentice?" CEO shakes his head. "No. I made him an offer, but he turned it down. Still, seeing him work that hammer, I couldn't believe it was his first time. He was focused, committed. No one else could have made anything useful from trash like that, but Saiwa did." Kim turns back and gives Saiwa a long, serious look. He's wiping the sweat from his face, holding a rough dagger in his hand. A screen notification appears. "You have successfully crafted a weapon from junk found in the trash." Saiwa receives a notification. Divine metallurgy proficiency slightly increased. He stares awkwardly at the dagger in his hand. Letting out a laugh, he mutters, "It's not junk. I actually managed to make a weapon." He studies it for a moment. Now, he just needs to figure out how to sell it. Just then, Kim So-eun walks back over and asks, "Are you thinking of selling that sword?" She extends her hand and introduces herself. "I'm Kim So-eun, CEO of So-eun Trading Company." Saiwa pauses. That name. He remembers hearing about the company. It's a well-known, reputable firm in the hunter industry, praised for its integrity and high standards. Kim elaborates, "We only deal in the finest products in South Korea." She glances at the weapon in his hand. "If you're thinking of selling it, I'm ready to buy." Saiwa chuckles. Kim smiles and says, "Take a closer look first. I'll offer 1,000,000 for each." Narration. After closing the deal with Kim, Saiwa began crafting weapons like a madman. He hunted countless beasts and forged gear day and night. Kim, thrilled with the results, was soon celebrating. The So-eun Trading Company just signed an official contract with SH Group, she announced joyfully. Turning to Saiwa, she laughed. "You really have talent. Meeting deadlines, flawless equipment, this is how trust is built." She looked him in the eyes. "Without you, I don't know how we would have pulled this off." She gently held his hands. "Thank you, Saiwa." Then, reaching into her pocket, she pulled out her phone. "Check your account." Saiwa blinked, confused. "Huh, go on." "Check." He opened his banking app, and his eyes widened as the notification came in. So-eun Trading Company has deposited 284,242,000 Korean wons, approximate $250,000. Saiwa, still stunned, said, "Wait, I thought I was getting 28 million won." Kim raised an eyebrow. "Check again." He refreshed the screen. His jaw dropped. 280 million. He couldn't believe it. A wave of joy washed over him. Narration. At just 23 years old, Meng Saiwa had officially become a slave to money. Saiwa sits in CEO's workshop, deep in thought. He checks his mobile account balance, 280 million won. "I can finally sign up for the GodTube membership to treat Saiwa," he says to himself. He browses through several GodTube channels, including Hwata, the legendary physician, known as the Divine Doctor. Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine. Hyo Jun, the pioneer of traditional Korean medicine. Saiwa notices that subscribing to all 3 channels would cost 300 million won per month. Given his current situation, he realizes he can only afford to choose one. He feels overwhelmed and confused about which to pick. Nervously, he scratches his face in frustration, closes his eyes, and randomly subscribes to one of the 3. The sound of hammering echoes through the workshop. Seo approaches him. Materials with high brittleness are difficult to polish, he says. You'll have to minimize the polishing process. There's no way around it. Saiwa glances at him, puzzled. They whisper about precision forging, noting that while it's possible with brittle materials, it requires exact precision. Just then, Kim So-eun arrives, interrupting their conversation. Seo frowns. Why do you keep coming here? He asks, clearly annoyed. I came to see Master Ming Saiwu, Kim replies playfully. Saiwu greets her warmly. I was waiting for you. Kim raises a brow. Really? You were waiting for me? You said earlier that if I ever needed anything, I could ask you. Saiwa reminds her, handing her a piece of paper. Can you get these? Kim reads the list. It's filled with rare medicinal herbs like rockweed, 100-year-old ginseng, and 100-year-old Chinese fleece flower. Saiwa asks, are those hard to find? Kim replies calmly, I can get them, but they're expensive. You're looking at around 300 million won. Maybe I can knock off 20 million at best. Saiwa jolts at the price. 300 million. He thinks to himself, to raise my proficiency in divine medicine, granted through the Hua Tuan membership, I need these herbs. He realizes that acquiring such rare materials would be nearly impossible without Kim's help. Kim asks, should I get them for you? Saiwa laughs nervously and nods. Scratching his head, he mentally calculates his balance. After receiving 284 million won and spending most of it, he's left with only 4 million won. He also recalls that his GodTube membership fee, due at the end of the month, is 100 million won. I definitely need more money. Even if he crafts more gear, it won't be cheap. Suddenly, he remembers the YouTube channel. The scene shifts. Kong is on a train. The windows rattle, and passengers chatter around him. A bored young man with brown hair sits on a bunk, scrolling through your tube. There's nothing worth watching, he mumbles. Then he spots a WSE channel video on the homepage. The thumbnail shows Kong pointing at a hippo. Curious, the young man taps play. The video begins with hippos swimming in a pond. Kong appears, dressed in a hippo costume. He cheerfully says, did you know hippos are not related to horses? The brown-haired viewer raises an eyebrow. Kong gestures toward the hippo, explaining, this monster is called Hippodon. It's known as hippopotamus in some regions. And while the name originates from words related to horses, hippos are not part of the equine family. He adds, they actually belong to the bovine family. He pulls out a red cloth and waves it in front of the hippos. First step to taking down a hippodon. Get its attention with red. He smirks. Though, truth be told, bulls and hippos don't react to red itself. It's about movement and agitation. The brown-haired guy watches skeptically. Kong flaps the cloth again. The hippos grunt, then charge toward him. As they approach, Kong mutters, Step 2, just beat them up. The viewer stares blankly. Is that even a strategy? Kong runs headfirst into the stampede. The screen shakes. Dust flies everywhere. When the dust settles, then we see our boy is able to defeat all the monsters. Kong stands grinning and gives a thumbs up. Easy, right? He laughs. The brown-haired guy is stunned. Another pair of hippos charges at Kong. First, go for the head, then the belly. Kong instructs. He delivers a punch to the hippo's head, then its belly, then the back. The creature collapses. The viewer is now completely absorbed. Kang's strategies are weirdly effective. Kong addresses the camera. If this helped, smash that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on notifications. The viewer scrolls down and reads the comments. Kong is insane. How is this even possible with bare hands? Hippodon just got knocked out. The video has almost 4,000 views. The brown-haired guy, impressed, subscribes to the channel. A notification appears. WSE channel subscribers, 243. Back in the workshop, our boy sneers and says quietly, everything is going according to plan. Our boy Saiwu is scrolling through your tube. The MWSE channel now has 1,243 subscribers, and the Hippo Down strategy video has reached 127,655 views. He swipes through the comments, grinning. Looks like the concept from the last video really worked. But then he frowns. This time, it's probably just the algorithm doing its thing. I can't be stuck handling low-rank monsters forever. Determined, he says, it's time to strike while the iron is hot. He recalls that the Hippo Down strategy has strong adaptability and believes it's time to gain even more traction. Analyzing and breaking down monster strategies is his specialty. Saiwo ponders, getting to 1 million subscribers, it's not just a pipe dream anymore. Saiwo is seated at his desktop, busy editing a new video. He scratches his nose and suddenly notices blood on his fingers. Startled, he pauses. A wave of dizziness hits him. I still need to finish editing, and there's the dungeon raid and deliveries, he mumbles. Staggering, he tries to steady himself, but his legs give out. He collapses, hitting the table hard. Lying on the ground, he gasps. I'm overworking myself. Later that night, Saiwa slowly opens his eyes and stares at the ceiling. Is this my room? He wonders aloud. Sitting up with a groan, he rubs his forehead. I must have passed out. My head's killing me. He thanks Hercules' super strength for keeping him from anything worse. Picking up his phone, he mutters, I really need to get back to editing. He glances at the time. 4:30 a.m. Saiwa shrieks. I was out for a whole day. He slumps forward. At this rate, I'll die from overworking before I even make any money. The next day, Saiwa visits Eden Cafe, sipping a smoothie while browsing applications on his phone. I didn't expect to get so many applicants, he mutters. Must be the decent pay. He reviews the job post. Base salary of 3 million won, plus incentives based on views. I need someone who can actually make money for me, he thinks. One video catches his eye. Impressive sound effects, well-timed humor. This guy edits better than me. He checks the time. Why hasn't the applicant shown up yet? The creator of the video is named Park Dyaku. Saiwa feels a bit tired. He reads over the messages he sent yesterday. Can we meet at Eden Cafe tomorrow at 1 p.m.? Park confirmed. Saiwa sighs. Must be some old guy. Probably going to show up late, apologizing. The clock hits 1 p.m. Still no sign. Frustrated, Saiwa texts again. Where are you? No reply. Hasn't even read the message, he groans. Maybe he's on the way. He sets the phone aside and stares at the clock, tapping the table impatiently. Suddenly, a young woman approaches. Sorry I'm late, she says cheerfully. I'm here for the interview. Saiwa, visibly annoyed, freezes. She sees his expression and looks startled. I'm Park Dyaku, the YouTube editor applicant. Saiwa blinks. You're? Park Dyaku. Wait, I thought she was going to be some old man. I'm really sorry, she continues. I was up late editing a video and forgot to pack lunch boxes for my younger siblings' field trip this morning. I rushed here without checking my phone. She bows again. I'm really sorry. Saiwa, softening, asks, Did you edit that video yourself? Park nods. Yes. I attached it with my application. You did that edit in one day? Actually, I uploaded it less than 3 hours after I started. Saiwa drops his head, stunned. 3 hours? Park tilts her head, confused by his reaction. After a moment, Saiwa looks up. Miss Park, when can you start? It takes me 8 hours to edit a video. She does it in 3. He grins. How much money can I make with that kind of speed? As I said in the job post, he continues, 2 videos a week is standard. Occasionally 3 with extra pay, of course. He extends his hand. Welcome aboard. Park looks a bit shy and doesn't shake it. She bows politely. Thank you for hiring me. I'll do my best. Suddenly, people outside start screaming and running. Dungeon break. Dungeon break. Saiwu and Park look around, startled. A dungeon break occurs when the magic inside a dungeon destabilizes, causing it to explode or release monsters into the city. A notification appears on a nearby screen. A dungeon break has been detected in a district name. It has been classified as a C-rank dungeon. Residents are urged to evacuate immediately. Saiwa smirks. Park, on the other hand, panics. Let's get out of here. We need to evacuate, she yells. Saiwa grins. Didn't you say you were ready to start working? Park stares at him in disbelief. Siwa winks. Let's go make some money. He hands her the camera. Follow me. Park nervously clutches the camera. Where are we going? To the dungeon, Siwa laughs. We've got content to shoot. They sprint against the panicked crowd, rushing toward the chaos. As the green demonic monsters spill into the streets, growling wildly, Park begins recording. She's shaken but focused. Siwa rushes at the nearest beast. And just like before, our boy with a single strike takes down the monsters, while informing how to defeat these kind of monsters. Facing the camera, he smirks. If you like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications. Turning back toward the horde, he mutters, It's time to make some money. A helicopter arrives to assist the citizens in evacuating and to help manage the monsters threatening the area. The guards land and immediately instruct the people to move into the building so they can remain safe. Suddenly, the guards are startled to discover that a single person is defeating the orcs with swift and overwhelming strength. Within moments, Siwa has neutralized all of the orcs, and he stands confidently among the defeated monsters, striking a light-hearted victory pose. After finishing the battle, Siwa looks into the camera and cheerfully tells his viewers that if they enjoyed the video, they should remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Later, Diaku watches the footage from home and appears extremely surprised as she scrolls through the comments. For some reason, Siwa has become incredibly popular, receiving a large number of positive remarks from viewers. Not only that, but Siwa's channel, World Conquering Man, has now surpassed 2,110 subscribers, and the video she just edited and uploaded has already gained more than 3 million views. Although Diaku edited Siwa's video, she still doesn't fully understand how he became this popular, but she is certain about one thing. Her boss is truly a unique and unpredictable presence on YouTube. She sighs in worry, wondering whether she can keep up with him and continue doing her job well. While she is lost in her thoughts, her younger siblings run up to her, happily complimenting the delicious chicken. They excitedly tell their Nuna that they saved some for her, so they can all eat together. After saying that, the two begin playfully arguing over which piece should belong to Diaku. Seeing their innocent bickering brings a warm smile to her face, giving her the motivation to continue working hard for the sake of her little siblings. The scene then shifts to the blacksmith shop, where Siwa is crafting a new weapon. After completing the sword, he examines it proudly, thinking about the equipment he created using the loot he obtained from the recent dungeon encounter. Unlike before, this weapon is made from materials gathered from C-grade monsters, and he is eager to see how it performs. Right after finishing the sword, Siwa receives a notification on his phone stating that the proficiency of God's metallurgy, an SS rank skill, has slightly increased and is now at 4.43%. Another notification appears, praising the quality of the equipment he created and suggesting that it could even be worthy of being given away as a special reward. Although the message confuses him a bit, Siwa is still pleased that his proficiency increased by 1.4%. Smiling at the incredible progress, he shows the new equipment to Soen and Plagwang. Soen instinctively comments that the quality of Siwa's craftsmanship keeps improving at an impressive pace. Even Plagwang finds it unbelievable, stating that it seems impossible for someone with less than a month of experience to achieve such skill. Siwa appears uncertain at first, but then smirks and tells Plagwang that he still has a long way to go. Soen then asks if he plans to sell the equipment, and Siwa proudly gives a thumbs up, saying that of course he will. He intends to sell it for the highest price possible. Soen assures him to leave the matter to her, while Plagwang watches quietly. After taking the sword, Soen also remarks that Siwa's appearance has improved a lot recently. When Siwa asks if she is serious, she explains that before, his dark circles used to reach almost to the sides of his nose. Siwa laughs, and Soen admits she once wondered whether he was human or a zombie, but now he certainly looks healthy. Siwa himself has noticed the change, because ever since Diaku started editing his videos, he has been able to get more sleep despite still being busy. Although he struggled with personal expenses after including hazard pay previously, he understands that assisting with filming isn't part of an editor's job, so he feels responsible for compensating her fairly. Suddenly, Memories of Dokiel belittling him and treating him poorly surface, and Saiwoo comments to himself that Dokiel was truly unpleasant. He smiles at his phone, feeling grateful for Dyaku's editing skills and dedication. Remembering something, Saiwoo asks Soen about the medical herbs he requested earlier. She apologizes and then reveals the herbs, saying she made sure to gather everything since it was his first request. Saiwoo is surprised she acquired them so quickly and compliments her. Soen then makes a playful idol pose, proudly claiming that her company only deals with the highest quality products from Korea. Saiwoo, amused, wonders what that has to do with herb gathering. When he asks about the price, Soen checks her phone and informs him that the total comes to 212 million won. The large amount makes Saiwoo sigh, commenting on how heavy the cost is. But Soen adds that since it was his request, she will offer a clean cut and set it at 200 million won, though she reminds him there won't be a discount next time. Saiwoo thanks her and takes the herbs, but Soen curiously asks what he plans to do with such a large amount of ingredients. Nervously, Saiwoo replies that they are for clinical trials. He then watches a video of a god explaining the properties of herbal medicines, describing them as refined natural remedies derived from animal, plant, or mineral sources. The one explaining all of this is the miracle-working physician Hua. That person keeps babbling endlessly, making Saiwoo ask what he is even talking about. Saiwoo becomes frustrated and anxious, worried that at this rate he won't be able to increase the proficiency of his divine medical arts. Just as he thinks about this complaint in his mind, he receives a notification informing him that he has experienced high-level knowledge, and his insight proficiency, an S+ rank skill, has slightly increased. This leaves Saiwoo confused, thinking that the wrong skill has improved. His insight skill has now gone up by 1.4%, reaching a total of 8.7%. In simple terms, this refers to the study of medicinal herbs used for treating illnesses and understanding how their effects work. Before he can process it, Saiwoo receives another notification stating that he has understood the definition of herbal medicine, causing his divine medical arts, also an S+ rank skill, to increase by 0.4%. Saiwoo is shocked, wondering why the instructor made such simple words sound so difficult. Another notification arrives explaining that he has made a decision that might benefit his physical condition, raising the proficiency of divine medical arts by an additional 0.5%, bringing it to a total of 0.9%. After creating a potion using the herbs he purchased, he stares at the mixture and questions whether it is even edible, saying that it might be good for the body, could also mean it might be extremely unpleasant. Despite the doubt, Saiwoo decides to test it and drinks it immediately, believing it shouldn't be harmful since it is simply a decoction made through the divine medical arts. After drinking it, he collapses onto the ground, causing the rest of the potion to spill. Seeing the wasted mixture makes him worried about the cost of the herbs. He receives another message, so he quickly takes out his phone. The system informs him that he has consumed a decoction that may benefit his body, increasing the proficiency of his super strength, another S+ rank skill. When Saiwoo reads how much it increased, he nearly cries and wonders if he should try to pick up whatever spilled before 3 seconds pass. Later that day, Saiwoo enters a dungeon where many bats are sleeping on the ceiling. These are vampire bats, E+ grade monsters from the bat family, but he has multiple reasons for coming here. First, he wants to film a video discussing whether bats belong to the rat species. Second, he wants to gather vampire bat materials for crafting equipment. And lastly, he plans to study the diseases carried by the bats. Because they live in large groups, sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds, various illnesses exist among them. Interestingly, the bats themselves remain unaffected. If they carry diseases related to blood disorders, discovering why they are resistant could provide clues toward treating his sister Seoa's condition. It won't be easy, but with divine medical arts, he believes it may be possible. While he is deep in thought, Saiwoo suddenly senses something, but it isn't coming from the bats. He cautiously looks around and decides to stay alert. He eventually spots several intruders, who turn out to be Dokiel's lackeys. They are equipped with swords and gear, searching for something. Saiwoo wonders how they even entered the dungeon, considering the Hunter Management Bureau assigned this dungeon to him, meaning no other hunters should be able to enter. Overlaps can occasionally happen, but Saiwoo doubts this is a coincidence. These men should be C-class hunters, so he questions why they are in an E-plus ranked dungeon. No matter the reason, it seems clear that they came to follow him. A dungeon is an isolated space without internet or communication networks, meaning no one outside would know if something happened. Saiwu wonders how he should respond, but then realizes there is no need to waste time thinking. He can simply confront them and see for himself. Meanwhile, Dokyeol's lackeys are arguing because they haven't been able to find Saiwu anywhere. Du Yuna insists he saw Saiwu enter the dungeon himself, and Ji Mincheol confirms he saw it too. Kim Jiwoo asks why. Then, they can't locate him. Mincheol suggests that maybe Saiwu is already gone, and Jiwoo laughs, agreeing. They believe Saiwu is a traitless awakener, weaker than an F-class, so entering an E-plus ranked dungeon only makes their job easier. Mincheol admits he doesn't know much, but comments that Saiwu was at least smart enough to come up with a strategy for dealing with vampire bats. The three continue bad-mouthing Saiwu, but after thinking for a while, Yuna says that after watching Saiwu's video, it doesn't seem like Saiwu relied only on strategy. Mincheol scoffs, saying the video must have used CGI. He even claims the dungeon might be a set rather than a real dungeon. Jiwoo agrees, until they suddenly hear Saiwu's voice behind them. Shocked, they turn around instantly. Saiwu stands behind Yuna and places a hand on his shoulder, asking calmly for Dokyeol's location. Terrified, Yuna stares at him, unable to understand how Saiwu approached without being detected. Saiwu says he didn't expect them to answer honestly, and he hopes they won't. The three immediately distance themselves and prepare to attack, demanding to know how Saiwu appeared behind them. Jiwoo charges toward Saiwu, shouting that someone without a trait could never stand against them. But with a single strike, applied safely and without excessive force, Jiwoo is knocked back and falls to the ground, startled and trembling from the impact. Saiwu then comments firmly that he is going to defeat them all. The other two become shocked and curse at Saiwu, but before they can even react, Mincheol is sent stumbling into the wall after being struck by Saiwu. Yuna begins sweating and muttering in panic after seeing what happened to Mincheol, realizing that he can't win against Saiwu again. He hurriedly tells Saiwu to wait, and says he will reveal everything he knows. However, Saiwu refuses to listen and continues approaching, saying that he tends not to trust the words of someone who is still unharmed. After giving Mincheol a firm warning, Saiwu asks if Dokyeol ordered them to give him a lesson. Mincheol nervously confirms it, but Saiwu questions why he dropped the honorifics, scaring Mincheol into correcting himself immediately. Then Saiwu asks why Dokyeol is targeting him. Mincheol hesitates, admitting that he truly doesn't know the reason, which makes Saiwu clench his fist in frustration. But it becomes clear that Mincheol genuinely has no information. Taking a breath, Saiwu asks for Dokyeol's location. Mincheol hesitates again, so Saiwu quickly tells him to forget it and orders him to escape with the other two. Mincheol becomes confused and instructs him to deliver a message to Dokyeol. If Dokyeol continues acting this way, he will face the same consequences. Then, unexpectedly, Saiwu grabs Mincheol by the face, asking if delivering the message is really that difficult, before giving Mincheol another rough reminder of the situation. Later, after being patched up, all three return to Dokyeol, who watches them in silence. Suddenly, Saiwu appears, smirking and remarking that it has been a month since they last saw each other. Mincheol and Yuna become terrified, quickly trying to explain to Dokyeol that everything was a misunderstanding and that they had no choice because Saiwu forced them. Hearing this, Saiwu puts an arm around Yuna's shoulder and gives a thumbs up, saying that Yuna's plan to lure Dokyeol out worked perfectly. This makes Yuna even more terrified as he tries to explain that he is being framed, but Saiwu continues stirring things up, claiming that he will make sure Yuna's request to defeat Dokyeol comes true. Yuna panics and runs away, and seeing this, Mincheol and Jisoo also flee while apologizing to Dokyeol. After they leave, Saiwu smiles and taunts that Dokyeol is all alone now, then adds that this is what happens when someone mistreats their own people. Saiwu asks Dokyeol how poorly he treated them that they supposedly begged Saiwu to confront him. As Saiwu continues speaking, Dokyeol cuts him off, demanding to know how someone who is only an E-class hunter could possess such power. Saiwu casually replies that he isn't sure himself, and then asks why Dokyeol has been targeting him. Filled with anger, Dokyo refuses to answer. Saiwu smiles at that response and immediately charges toward him, attempting to land a punch, but Dokyo blocks it with his sword. Saiwu repeats his usual line that he doesn't trust the words of anyone who still has all their strength available. After Saiwu lands a clean hit, he realizes that Dokyo is completely different from the others. Still, since Dokyo is a B-class hunter, Saiwu believes victory is possible. Dokyo blocks another punch and swings his sword, but Saiwu dodges, surprising him. Saiwu steps back, prompting Dokyo to begrudgingly compliment his reaction speed. Saiwu taunts him in return, but internally he is scared. He knows that even a well-placed strike can shatter a weapon, yet he still lacks the skill to safely counter a B-rank hunter's blade. Even though Dokyo's attacks are fast, they are predictable enough that Saiwu can evade them. During the fight, Saiwu suddenly recalls his past when he worked as Dokyo's editor. Back then, he was treated poorly in the dungeon and ordered around for trivial things. He had watched Dokyo's hunting footage hundreds of times while editing, analyzing his habits, tendencies, and movements. Because of that experience, Saiwu is now able to dodge Dokyo's attacks, and his S+ rank insight increases by another 0.5%. Saiwu and Dokyo continue trading blows and dodging each other, which makes Dokyo increasingly furious, thinking Saiwu might be reading his every action. Yet he refuses to accept it, insisting that as a B-class hunter, he should never struggle against someone labeled E+. While Dokyo is stuck in his thoughts, Saiwu seizes the opportunity and lands a punch on Dokyo's face, making him stumble back while holding himself steady with his sword. Dokyo trembles, unable to accept what is happening, despite having confirmed Saiwu's power through clips online. Growing angrier, Dokyo begins releasing aura, determined to defeat Saiwu with full strength. He forms an aura sword, startling Saiwu, who realizes Dokyo intends to go all out. Smiling, Saiwu decides he has no choice but to do the same. He prepares to use a skill that strains his body heavily, one powerful enough to injure his muscles if held for too long. He chooses to go all in at once and charges straight at Dokyo. Before Dokyo can react, Saiwu appears right in front of him, and Dokyo fails to block the strike. Sometime later, the building collapses and officers arrive. A pink-haired woman orders the guards to secure the area and check if anyone is inside. Following her command, they announce themselves as members of the Inspection Bureau and call out to see if anyone is present. When the dust finally settles, Saiwu is standing in the ruins, holding Dokyo's sword. Seeing the guards, Saiwu begins walking toward them and notices that the pink-haired woman coldly asks for his identity. Saiwu confirms who he is while pointing the sword at Dokyo. The pink-haired woman shows her badge and introduces herself as Lee Min-young, the team leader of the 4th Guard team under the Inspection Bureau. After introducing herself, she informs Saiwu that they first need to go to the Hunter Inspection Bureau to talk in detail. After arriving there, Saiwu and Min-young sit in the interrogation room. Min-young asks Saiwu whether a hunter named Dokyo attempted to harm him. Saiwu confirms this and tells Min-young that he has already submitted the video as evidence. Min-young has reviewed the footage as well and understands that this is not something that can be overlooked. She starts entering information into the system while telling Saiwu that he is being reported as a traitless awakener. The Guarders function similarly to police officers who protect hunters, but they also pursue criminal hunters. Saiwu has heard that team leaders are usually A-class hunters, so he feels a sense of pressure standing before someone of her rank. Saiwu then questions whether the trait grade refers to the grade of the hunter themselves. Min-young answers that she is aware Saiwu is classified as E+ class. Saiwu replies in a cold tone that this is correct, yet Min-young continues asking questions, leading Saiwu to ask if there is any reason he must answer all of them, since he is the victim, not the suspect. Hearing this, Min-young apologizes, explaining that her job has made her overly cautious and that she will handle the situation properly based on the video evidence from both the Arachne dungeon and the abandoned building that Saiwu submitted. Saiwu then stands up to leave, and Min-young informs him that Hunter Dokyo may not see the sunlight again given the severity of the case. She states that she will conclude the reference investigation and thanks Saiwu for his cooperation. Saiwu opens the door and tells Min-young that he will leave everything to her. After some time, once Saiwu has left, the door opens again and a green-haired woman enters the room. noticing that her team leader is still inside. She expected Minyoung to have already left since Saiwoo had come out earlier. Minyoung comments that something feels very strange, leaving the green-haired woman, Young Sua, confused. Minyoung asks Sua about her rank. Sua smiles and proudly says that she was recently promoted to B class. Suddenly, Sua drops to the ground, and Minyoung looks down at her while releasing overwhelming pressure. Sua forces herself to lift her head, wondering what is happening. Minyoung stands up from her chair and remarks that her assumption was correct. Even Sua cannot withstand it. Hearing this, Sua replies that of course she cannot withstand such pressure because team leader Minyoung is no ordinary guarder, and there are even rumors that she may soon be promoted to S class. Minyoung reveals that she applied the same pressure during her meeting with Saiwoo, yet Saiwoo did not react at all. Now able to move freely again, Sua becomes shocked upon hearing this, especially since Saiwoo is classified as only an E+ class hunter. Minyoung begins walking, finding the situation increasingly strange. Sua continues asking if that is the reason Minyoung sent Saiwoo away, and tries to mention what usually happens to hunters who try to deceive those above their class. But Minyoung interrupts her, saying she let Saiwoo go because he was not acting suspiciously and carried a natural, genuine presence. Sua becomes confused by this explanation and asks what she means. The scene shifts to Saiwoo, who is walking down the street on his way home. He thinks to himself that it is a relief that everything ended smoothly for now, but he is unsure when something similar might happen again. If his YouTube channel becomes more popular, he may become a target for criminal organizations. Fighting them would be extremely difficult with his current abilities. Without the synergy of his knowledge about Dokyeol's patterns, behaviors, and habits, combined with Saiwoo's S+ rank insight skill, he might not have survived earlier. Thinking about the challenges ahead, Saiwoo realizes that what he needs most right now is increased physical strength. However, no matter what he tries, his strength refuses to increase and remains stuck at only 1%. At that moment, Saiwoo receives a notification congratulating him on winning the individual PT event with Hercules. Hercules is offering a free training session to celebrate Saiwoo's channel reaching 1 subscriber. Saiwoo is shocked to see that he actually won, but also notices that Hercules' subscriber count is still at 1. Saiwoo laughs, commenting that winning is always a good thing. The next day, Saiwoo sits on a bench during his individual training session with Hercules. However, Hercules becomes stunned when he realizes his subscriber is a human. He asks how a human could possibly be subscribed to his channel. Saiwoo nervously asks whether this means the session will not work, but Hercules replies that this is not the issue. The problem is that he cannot personally give Saiwoo the PT session. Saiwoo assumes this means he will not receive the training, but Hercules immediately clarifies that this is not the case. He explains that he cannot travel to Saiwoo's location, so he cannot train him face-to-face. Hearing this, Saiwoo wonders about how he originally connected to GodTube and begins thinking about the blonde man who gave him the smartphone and the white-haired man Hercules was fighting. Hercules continues, saying that although he cannot correct Saiwoo's posture directly, he can still teach him through instruction, so there is no need to worry. Hercules declares that they will start immediately. Since Hercules can't afford to lose even a single precious subscriber, he begins explaining that the balance of Saiwoo's body is currently in complete disarray, especially the posterior muscles. Hearing this, Saiwoo asks if Hercules means the back muscles when he says posterior muscles. Hercules responds with visible disappointment and clarifies that the posterior muscles refer to all the muscles on the back side of the body, while the back muscles Saiwoo mentioned are only one part of them. Hercules then demonstrates by pointing out the latissimus dorsi and the trapezius muscles. After that, he continues explaining the triceps and the brachioradialis. Saiwoo becomes extremely shocked by all this information and immediately receives another notification informing him that he has learned about the proper muscle structure, causing his super strength proficiency to slightly increase to 1.02%. The scene then shifts to Hercules' side, where he explains that there are various types of posterior muscles, and because they are all located on the back, people often forget their importance since they can't easily see them. Hercules stomps his foot on the ground and instructs Saiwoo that these muscles are extremely important for maintaining balance during powerful movements, such as striking the ground. Saiwoo, stunned by Hercules' demonstration, asks what technique that was. Hercules proudly explains that the move is called Divine Combat Arts, a system he created by combining all his fighting methods into one organized discipline. He also reveals that he used this same art when he defeated the Hydra. Hercules continues, saying that the posterior muscles are essential in these techniques as well, since the lower body acts as the pillar that supports everything. He then asks Saiwoo what he thinks would happen if the pillars of a building collapsed during construction. Saiwoo replies that the building would fall apart. Hercules shouts that the same principle applies to the human body. Understanding this, Saiwoo immediately receives another notification saying that he has acquired physical science knowledge related to the super strength skill, raising his proficiency to 1.12%. Saiwoo is delighted, and Hercules decides to teach him the exercise routine that best suits him, instructing Saiwoo to watch carefully and follow along. Saiwoo begins practicing while Hercules explains that the basic breathing technique is to exhale when moving away from the ground. However, Saiwoo thinks that the PT session is much more normal than he expected. Hercules quickly tells him that he doesn't need to focus too much on breathing and should simply exhale. Saiwoo tries his best and asks for a reason, but Hercules replies that for now, someone as light as an anchovy should just do as instructed without questioning. Saiwoo nervously agrees. During the exercise, Saiwoo's super strength proficiency continues to increase and finally reaches 1.47%. The next day, Dyaku receives a message from Saiwoo asking her to edit the new video. She thinks her boss is a good person, though a bit extraordinary, and sighs before clicking the attached footage to see what strategy he used this time. She plays the video and sees Saiwoo wearing a bat costume, greeting his subscribers and introducing himself as the man who conquers everything in the world. The world-conquering man Saiwoo explains that he is near a cave inhabited by vampire bats, and that he is here to film new content for the channel, a speedrun raid. For viewers unfamiliar with the term, he explains that speedrunning is the act of clearing a dungeon as fast as possible. As she watches, Dyaku considers where to add effects and transitions. But she still wonders why Saiwoo chose vampire bats, since they live in large numbers and in dark environments with poor visibility, making it difficult to record a speedrun. Still, she knows this is exactly the type of challenge that brings Saiwoo attention. In the video, Saiwoo explains that after checking the current best records, he discovered that the fastest speedrun time was 58 seconds, achieved by S-Class Hunter Yuhana from the Firewitch channel. Today, Saiwoo plans to challenge that record. He begins the speedrun, and Dyaku prepares to add a timer. But to her shock, Saiwoo suddenly starts doing gymnastics, and then stomps on the ground, causing it to tear apart. The cave collapses into rubble instantly. Dyaku stares at the screen in disbelief, wondering if a cave can really collapse like that. Meanwhile in the video, Saiwoo realizes he needed to gather ingredients, but despite that, he still completes the raid. Dyaku nervously questions what she is witnessing while reminding herself that Saiwoo is still a good person. She edits the video and uploads it to the channel, and Saiwoo comments that they got a great shot. The video quickly reaches 1.5 million views. Saiwoo also notices that even Yuhana from the Firewitch channel, who has 41 million subscribers, posted a comment. It's clear that she rushed in panic upon hearing that her first-place record had been broken. Her comment alone draws massive attention, and if they ever collaborate, Saiwoo is certain they could reach at least 1 million viewers. He then checks his smartphone to view his current super strength proficiency, which is now 2.1%. Saiwoo happily notes that ever since Hercules' PT session, his proficiency has never increased this much before. He can already destroy the vampire bat dungeon with just 2%, so he dreams that if his power grows further, he might even be able to fight high-level monsters one day. With that thought in mind, Saiwoo decides to ask Hercules to teach him the divine combat arts. After reaching home, Saiwoo asks Hercules to teach him the divine art, but Hercules immediately refuses. Saiwoo then asks if Hercules can at least teach it during their PT sessions, yet Hercules still says no. Saiwoo questions why Hercules keeps refusing, especially since Saiwoo won the event. Hercules simply nods and explains that those are completely different matters. When Saiwoo asks how they differ, Hercules clarifies that individual PT training is one thing, while divine combat arts is something entirely separate, and their names alone should make that clear. More importantly, for someone like Saiwu, building muscle isn't the only challenge. The divine combat arts is a method specifically designed by Hercules to suit his own power, so without the super strength ability Hercules uses, Saiwu cannot perform it. Hearing this, Saiwu reveals that he is using Hercules' super strength. Hercules becomes confused and steps closer, asking if Saiwu is truly using the super strength ability. Saiwu confirms it and explains that it's because Hercules is giving him PT lessons right now. Hercules firmly replies that this is only individual PT and has nothing to do with teaching super strength. Saiwu is shocked, insisting that he still somehow learned the super strength skill. Hercules finds this impossible. Saiwu is equally puzzled because he believed the traits of gods could be learned through GodTube. While thinking it over, he begins to wonder if what he learned is something different from Hercules' actual super strength. To confirm it, Saiwu decides to demonstrate the ability to Hercules. After witnessing it with his own eyes, Hercules is completely stunned and demands to know how Saiwu is able to do that. Once Saiwu explains everything, Hercules finally understands that Saiwu gained super strength because he had subscribed to Hercules' channel, just like how he learned abilities from other gods' channels as well. Saiwu confirms this and asks if that is strange. Hercules responds that it is beyond strange and that no one should be able to gain the powers of gods by simply subscribing to their channels. Saiwu calmly replies that it still worked for him. Hercules thinks deeply and suddenly remembers something important. He asks Saiwu how he even connected to GodTube as a human with no divinity. Saiwu reflects on it and recalls the golden-haired human who gave him the smartphone. So he explains everything to Hercules. From Hercules' perspective, it appears those two people were likely connected to GodTube. Saiwu then wonders how they were able to visit the human world even though Hercules told him he personally cannot cross dimensions. Hercules explains that the human and divine dimensions cannot interfere with each other, and that Saiwu's GodTube account was actually a manager account. Considering all that, Hercules asks Saiwu if one of the people he met was a manager. Saiwu asks whether Hercules knows about the managers of GodTube, and Hercules replies that he does know a few, but regardless, Saiwu still shouldn't be able to obtain divine abilities just by subscribing on a manager account. If that were possible, the manager would already be the god of the universe. Even so, Hercules admits that Saiwu clearly did acquire his super strength. Hearing this, Saiwu smiles and asks Hercules to take him as a disciple, but Hercules still refuses, shocking Saiwu. When Saiwu demands to know the reason, Hercules says it's because the whole matter is extremely troublesome for him. Saiwu reminds him that he has already learned super strength, but Hercules insists that learning the skill and practicing the divine combat arts are two very different things. In addition, even the regular PT lessons are already troublesome for Hercules, and now Saiwu wants to add divine combat arts on top of that. Saiwu becomes frustrated, but he keeps his composure and asks Hercules what subscriber count truly means to GodTube. Hercules hesitates, but eventually explains that it can be understood as a form of divinity. Saiwu wonders if that means the more subscribers someone has, the higher their divine status rises. He isn't completely certain of the details, but generally speaking, more subscribers lead to better divine standing. That must also be why Hercules continues giving Saiwu PT lessons, even though he finds them annoying. In other words, subscribers are the only thing Hercules cares about besides building muscle. Saiwu then proposes a deal. He promises to bring Hercules 100 new subscribers. In exchange, Hercules must teach him the divine combat arts. Hercules becomes very interested and asks how Saiwu plans to do that, especially since Saiwu cannot travel to Hercules' dimension. Saiwu simply smirks and tells him to trust him just this once. Soon, Hercules gains 100 subscribers, and he proudly shows the count to Saiwu. Then, in admiration, Hercules bows and declares that he will serve Saiwu with loyalty from this day forward. Saiwu tells Hercules that he will continue giving him creative and engaging video content ideas in the future. Hercules is delighted and repeatedly refers to Saiwu as Master. Saiwu then reminds Hercules that, in return, he must teach him the divine combat arts. Hercules replies that he wouldn't dare refuse now. Saiwu once again asks what subscriber numbers truly represent, and Hercules explains that it is essentially a measure of trust. The gods' divine status is shaped by the trust and recognition they receive from others, so the more people who know about them, the stronger their divine presence becomes, and so on. After hearing the entire explanation, Saiwu finds it incredibly complicated, but in simple terms, a god's status increases as their number of subscribers grows. After that, Saiwu and Hercules join their fists, marking the beginning of Hercules officially teaching Saiwu the divine combat arts. Hercules decides to explain everything right away, but before he begins, Saiwu asks him to speak comfortably as he did before. Hercules smiles and agrees, then tells Saiwu that the very first requirement for learning the divine combat arts is developing the right muscles. More specifically, the muscles that matter most are the brain muscles. Even so, Hercules says a demonstration is easier than a long explanation. The moment Hercules begins the demonstration, Saiwu's head suddenly starts throbbing. Hercules displays the divine combat arts, and Saiwu wonders what just happened because he couldn't catch a single frame of Hercules' movement. He also feels an overwhelming sense of pressure. Despite the pain, a notification pops up on his phone stating that his super strength proficiency has increased dramatically to 3.61%. Saiwu is shocked because it's the first time his proficiency has ever increased by a full percent. Hercules then tells him that, as he can see, Saiwu currently cannot withstand the technique. He is hesitant to say it, but explains that Saiwu's soul level is still lacking. If Saiwu tries to use divine combat arts in this condition, his mind would collapse before his body could even move. Therefore, he must first train his brain muscles. In other words, the brain muscles refer to the level of the soul, more intuitively described as mental strength. Saiwu needs strong mental fortitude to endure the divine combat arts. Realizing all this, Saiwu tells Hercules he should have explained it clearly from the beginning. Hercules scratches his head, admitting that he doesn't usually talk very much. Saiwu asks if he can still learn it. Hercules replies that normally it would be impossible, but considering Saiwu's unusual abilities, it might be possible for him. Saiwu becomes confused, so Hercules explains that it's because Saiwu can obtain the powers of gods. Understanding the situation, Saiwu thinks that if he can gain the strength of gods who specialize in mental power, he might be able to support Hercules' extraordinary techniques. Hercules recommends that Saiwu master Kong's channel. Saiwu asks if he means Confucius, and Hercules confirms it. Saiwu immediately realizes that doing so requires signing up for membership and paying an extremely high monthly subscription fee. The next day, Saiwu sits in the workshop staring at his account balance. He only has 153 million won left. Huadawa's channel required only 1 million for membership, but this one demands 10 million monthly, which Saiwu finds unbelievably expensive. After subscribing and paying the fee, Saiwu wonders if he made the right decision. While he is feeling gloomy, Soen arrives and greets him, announcing that she has returned with the ogre tendon he requested. Seeing it, Saiwu nervously asks if the price was 1 million, but Soen smiles and tells him the actual price is 113 million won. With tears in his eyes, Saiwu pays the amount and thanks her. His account balance now drops to only 40 million won. Before leaving, Soen asks where he plans to use the ogre tendon. Saiwu smiles and explains that he intends to craft new equipment. He walks to the counter, thinking that since an ogre is an A+ class monster, he cannot hunt one himself, not yet. But if he wants to learn the divine combat arts, he will need to keep paying 10 million won every month. That means he must craft high-quality equipment, sell it for profit, and also make some that he can use for his own training. The thought makes Saiwu want to cry, wondering when he will ever be able to create something for himself. To him, money feels like his eternal enemy. Still, he decides to begin working. Saiwu grabs his hammers, rolls up his sleeves, and prepares to forge the equipment. Hearing the loud hammering, Plagwang arrives and notices Soen standing nearby. He asks why she is there, but even he is stunned when he sees Saiwu working, as Saiwu skillfully crafts the new equipment using the ogre tendon. When he finally finishes, Saiwu lifts the completed weapon high into the air. Soen and Plagwang stare at it with wide, astonished eyes, unable to hide their shock and admiration. Saiwu receives a notification stating that he has created a disposable product and that his god's metallurgy proficiency has increased significantly, now reaching 10.5%. Reading this, Saiwoo is shocked to realize that despite giving it his best effort, the result is still categorized as a disposable item. Plagwang is equally stunned and asks how Saiwoo managed to create equipment of such quality. Even Soen is amazed. Saiwoo smiles and looks at her, asking what price the item could be sold for. Soen becomes alarmed upon hearing that Saiwoo wants to sell something like this. She explains that the item is far beyond her ability to handle because none of their usual customers could afford equipment of this level. Hearing that, Saiwoo looks down at the gauntlet, realizing that there is no point in making it if he cannot sell it. He thinks about the costs he must cover: Confucius channel membership, Huadawa's subscription fee, and Sioa's medicine, and knows it will be extremely difficult. Even so, Saiwoo tells Soen not to feel pressured and to go ahead and sell the gauntlets for him, since they are disposable anyway. Soen begins sweating nervously but smiles, telling Saiwoo that since he entrusted the task to her, she will do her best. She suddenly thinks of a strategy and asks Plagwang if she can borrow his name. Plagwang is confused, so Soen explains that she is planning to put the equipment up for auction. Saiwoo is also confused, since he assumed her reaction meant the equipment was practically useless. Later, the auction begins. The host introduces the next product, explaining that this is the item even Master Plagwang couldn't help but admire. The spectators immediately grow curious, knowing that Plagwang is a blacksmith recognized by Aurelian, which means the equipment must be extraordinary. The host pulls away the red cloth, revealing a pair of top-quality gauntlets made from ogre tendons, making them exceptionally durable. This ensures there is no need to worry about them breaking. The host continues, telling the audience not to be surprised. Since the gauntlets are made using tendons from an A-class monster, the appraisal results show that they can amplify the wearer's strength. The spectators gasp, shocked that the equipment can boost strength. They wonder if it is enchanted, even though enchanted equipment can only be crafted by Master Aurelian. Enchanted equipment refers to gear imbued with magical abilities. The host nervously clarifies that, unfortunately, the gauntlets are not enchanted. The amplified power is only a small amount, about 5%. Even so, the audience remains highly interested because equipment with a special effect is already extremely valuable, especially as auxiliary gear. Judging from their reactions, the host jokes that she might be in trouble if she drags things out any longer. She then announces the start of the bidding, beginning at 10 million won with increments of 5 million. The bidding jumps from 10 to 15, 20, 25, and 30 million won. It doesn't stop there, the price keeps climbing. The host eventually increases the increment to 10 million won, and when the bidding hits 100 million, she raises the increment to 50 million. The number keeps rising until it reaches 350 million won. The host smiles and asks if there are any higher bids. Suddenly, someone calls out a bid of 2 billion won. Everyone turns in surprise, and it turns out to be Chiron. Even the host is shocked at the price and nervously asks for any additional bids. Another voice responds, this time offering 2 billion and 10 million won. The bidder is none other than team leader Minyoung, causing the crowd to whisper in shock. The bidding continues as Chiron raises her offer to 3 billion won, and Minyoung counters with 3 billion and 10 million. Chiron immediately increases it to 4 billion won. Hearing that, the host anxiously asks if anyone wishes to bid higher, but no one does. After calling it twice, the gauntlets are officially sold to Chiron for 4 billion won. Chiron walks confidently through the crowd like a superstar as she claims her purchase. The scene shifts to Plagwang's blacksmith shop, where Saiwoo is trembling while staring at his phone. Soen is equally shocked, never imagining the gauntlets would sell for such a price. Saiwoo's account balance is now higher than what most people earn in a lifetime. He is delighted because although the winning bid was 4 billion won, even after deducting the 5% auction fee, taxes, and Soen's service charge, he still has 3.5 billion remaining. Saiwoo joyfully hugs Soen and tells her he loves her. Startled, she asks him to wait because he's squeezing too tightly. She tries to say she cannot breathe and begins coughing. Panicking, Saiwoo immediately lets go and apologizes, telling her he must have gotten overly excited. He then says he would love to give her something extra for her help. Soen smiles and politely refuses, reminding him that he already paid her service fee. And above all, She believes that it is thanks to Saiwoo that Soen's company has now become a VIP at the auction house, which is more than enough for Soen to feel grateful. Hearing this, Saiwoo asks Plagwang if he wants anything, but Plagwang politely declines, saying that Saiwoo was the one who created everything and that he himself did not contribute much. After hearing that, Saiwoo decides to teach Plagwang how to hammer using the Allegro rhythm, a technique Saiwoo recently learned from a Hephaestus video. Since there is also a 4-beat rhythm, Saiwoo plans to teach him that as well. Saiwoo then checks his smartphone and proceeds to pay the Confucius channel's membership fee. Although he is not thrilled about spending such a large amount, he understands that if he truly wants to learn divine combat arts, the subscription is necessary. He accepts that he cannot be stingy, even though the fee feels overwhelming. After subscribing, Saiwoo receives a notification confirming his membership. Later on, Saiwoo takes Seoa to dinner at a fancy restaurant. Seoa appears very nervous because the place seems extremely expensive, and she tries to tell her brother that they do not need to push themselves to eat somewhere so luxurious. Saiwoo reassures her, saying that it is good to try experiences like this once in a while. Even though the price per person is 600,000 won, he does not mind since his account holds 2.5 billion won. Saiwoo smiles at his phone, realizing that the Hwadawa channel's fee is 100 million won, while the Confucius channel's fee is 1 billion, totaling 1.1 billion won. While waiting for the food, he browses GodTube to pass the time, scrolling casually while Seoa looks around the restaurant with curiosity. Suddenly, Saiwoo becomes shocked when he sees that Confucius has more than 34,000 subscribers, which is far more than he expected. He wonders if all of Confucius' disciples subscribe to his channel, making Saiwoo realize that school networks seem to exist on GodTube as well. They mentioned that Saiwoo needed strong brain muscles to learn divine combat arts, so he assumed it would be an SS rank skill. However, it turns out to be SSS rank, and considering that it is not even a combat job, its rank is higher than the divine combat arts themselves. Since Saiwoo needs to raise his proficiency level, he decides to watch the instructional video first to understand the basics more clearly. The video begins with Confucius calmly explaining that a gentleman is someone who cares for and supports the people around him. As Saiwoo watches, he feels an overwhelming sense of boredom wash over him. Moments later, a notification pops up stating that he has mastered the basics of Confucianism and the proficiency of a gentleman's benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom has increased to 0.01%. After dinner, when Saiwoo returns to his room, he explains everything to Hercules. Hercules immediately understands that Saiwoo has gained the foundation of Confucius' brain muscles, although he has not mastered them fully. Saiwoo confirms this and says that he needs to continue raising his proficiency. Hercules reminds him, as he mentioned before, that divine combat arts are not something Saiwoo can handle at his current level. These arts bend the laws of the world, and using them requires far more than simple physical strength. Hercules continues, explaining that Saiwoo will channel his mana through his veins and pressure points. Since mana is the source of existence, using it effectively requires an amplification organ that projects one's intention and allows that intention to influence mana. The Eastern gods refer to this organ as the chi center. Although Saiwoo listens carefully, he struggles to understand any of it. Hercules then points out that Saiwoo is probably thinking it is boring and confusing and wondering what Hercules is even talking about. Hercules steps closer, startling Saiwoo, and tells him that what Saiwoo truly wants is to learn divine combat arts and gain power, not to study overwhelming theories. Hercules asks if he is wrong, and although Saiwoo wants to deny it, he knows he cannot. With no choice left, Saiwoo admits that Hercules is right. Hercules then explains that he has found a simpler way for Saiwoo to learn divine combat arts, and the answer lies within Saiwoo's muscles. Saiwoo still doesn't understand, so Hercules elaborates. If Saiwoo's body is in poor condition, then his mind will struggle as well. When Saiwoo asks if it isn't supposed to be the other way around, Hercules ignores the comment and continues. He explains that as Saiwoo builds his muscles, he will naturally absorb the complex concepts through physical discipline, allowing the difficult knowledge to settle into his body rather than burdening his mind. Saiwoo listens anxiously, quietly absorbing every word. Later that night, at the SH Group's headquarters, Chiron is having a conversation with her grandfather in his office. He mentions that he heard she brought back a piece of equipment this time. Chiron confirms this and explains that she was extremely satisfied with it. Her grandfather then comments that he heard it cost 4 billion, and Chiron responds that although it cannot be compared to Master Aurelian's sword, it is still an excellent piece of auxiliary equipment. She feels as if her skills have advanced to a new level thanks to that single item. Her grandfather, Chairman Han Tae-san of the SH Group, smiles warmly and says he is glad to hear it. He tells her that if she needs anything else, she should feel free to ask. Chiron bows respectfully, thanking Tae-san, and informs him that she believes they can now begin preparing to hunt the S-rank dungeon. The next day, at the park, after a long training session, Saiwoo collapses onto the ground completely exhausted. He thinks to himself that he can't even keep up properly and has yet to learn the technique the right way. Looking at his smartphone, he sits up, feeling that there is no way he can raise his proficiency like this. Saiwoo falls into despair, doubting whether he can truly accomplish this goal or not. He watches a Confucius video where someone asks if there is a way to avoid losing a fight that one can never win. Confucius replies that it is possible if they simply never allow the fight to end. Taking a deep breath, Saiwoo stands up and closes his eyes to focus. He thinks about how Hercules was once human and became a hero who surpassed the limits of humanity. It is only natural to assume that Hercules also struggled, worked tirelessly, and faced frustration. Divine combat arts are a profound power, something far beyond ordinary martial skills, and are difficult to reach even with talent. Since Saiwoo believes he lacks natural ability, the only thing he can rely on is continuous, unwavering effort. After concentrating, Saiwoo manages to practice more seriously and begins throwing punches with far greater force. Suddenly, a notification appears stating that the indomitable will has permeated his body, and his proficiency in the gentleman's benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom has increased by 0.5%, bringing the total to 0.51%. Shocked, Saiwoo opens his eyes only to realize that his punches did not simply make a small impact. Parts of the tree and even the surrounding ground have been damaged. A new notification appears saying that Saiwoo has now awakened Hercules' divine combat arts, with its proficiency currently at 0.03%. Saiwoo smiles awkwardly, scratching his head, and mutters that he probably needs to look into a private training center now, and wonders how much compensation will be required for the damage he caused. The scene shifts to Dyaku, who takes a deep breath before opening Saiwoo's message. Saiwoo informs her that there is a new video to be uploaded on YouTube, so she needs to edit it. There is also an attached file titled Vampire Bat Dungeon Speedrun. Dyaku assumes it is the same style of speedrun video as last time. The Fire Witch recently broke Saiwoo's record on her channel, taking back first place with an astonishing record of 11 seconds. Her attack began immediately, and the run was flawless. Still, the fact that Saiwoo recorded another video with the same concept makes Dyaku think something feels different. Holding her breath, she downloads and opens the footage. In the video, Saiwoo greets his viewers and welcomes them to his channel, World Conquering Man. He looks at his smartphone and explains that he heard a new record was recently set on the Fire Witch's channel. 11 seconds, an incredible achievement. That is why, he says, his goal today is to show viewers how to conquer the Fire Witch, Hannah, by beating her record. Dyaku is stunned that he is talking about challenging Hannah directly. Saiwoo smiles and continues, saying viewers might wonder why he is suddenly discussing targeting Hannah. He admits that if he tried to confront her outright, he would likely be overwhelmed, so there is no way he would attempt it unprepared. Instead, today's strategy is to show how to surpass Hannah's first-place record. Cutting to the chase, Saiwoo focuses all his power into his leg and stomps the ground with a powerful strike. The force causes the ground to crack, and even the camera breaks from the vibration. Saiwoo looks shocked and confused, but Dyaku notices another file. Saiwoo has actually sent her 2 videos. When she opens the second one, she is even more shocked. It shows the scene from a backup camera, clearly capturing Saiwoo's stomp, creating a massive impact that even affects the portal behind the camera. The cave floor collapses into a pit from the strike. Saiwoo then comments that, now that he thinks about it, he probably could have just practiced inside the dungeon. Dyaku is left staring at her screen in disbelief, wondering what she has just witnessed. Then she notices the video's duration. It is only 4 seconds long. The scene shifts back to Saiwoo, who smiles while looking at his subscriber count, now surpassing 11,000, with more than 3 million views. Thanks to the divine combat arts, his viewership and comments have skyrocketed. At this rate, earning hundreds of millions of won is no longer a dream for Saiwoo. While scrolling through the comments, he notices several commenters talking about Chiron, claiming that she failed to clear a dungeon raid. Saiwoo feels a surge of anger, dismissing these as nothing but baseless rumors. However, he soon comes across another comment confirming that the incident was real. Shocked, Saiwoo immediately searches for more information and discovers that it indeed happened. Chiron's failure has caused a significant impact on the SH Group, leading investors to withdraw their funds and causing stock prices to plummet. After reading the articles, Saiwoo realizes that they don't provide any detailed explanation of her failure. Frustrated, he tosses his phone onto the bed, deciding that it has nothing to do with him. Right now, he is focused on his own endeavors and cannot afford to worry about her. He thinks to himself that Chiron will figure things out on her own. Meanwhile, on the top floor of the SH Group headquarters, Chiron steps out of Chairman Tayson's office. After leaving, she notices a green-haired woman approaching and stops. She greets her politely, addressing her as Director Han Mina. Mina greets Chiron in return, commenting that it has been a while, and notes that Chiron is her nephew. Mina smirks and asks if he has been doing well, guessing that Chiron must be on his way back after meeting the chairman. Chiron confirms this, and Mina informs him that she is here because the chairman has called an executive meeting due to the current chaos in the company. Stock prices are falling, and investors are withdrawing their funds. Chiron listens silently without responding. Mina continues, smirking as she taunts Chiron, explaining that none of this is her fault. It is the result of others expecting too much from her. She starts walking, whispering that Chiron should leave before she runs into her uncle's. Chiron remains standing there, torn and frustrated. The scene then shifts to Saiwoo, who is trying to administer medicine to his sister, Seoa. She hesitates, complaining that it is bitter and jokingly claiming that it must be what punishment tastes like. Saiwoo smiles, noting that his divine medical arts, ranked S+, has been steadily improving, and its proficiency is now at 20.47%. The medicine has become more palatable than before. After learning the gentleman mind skill, all of Saiwoo's traits have started improving. Not only have divine combat arts and super strength, both SSS rank skills, improved, but even God's metallurgy, an SS skill, has advanced. Insight, an S+ skill, has increased the most, as it relates to all other traits. This makes Saiwoo appreciate the value of the gentleman mind skill even more. He looks at Seoa and notices that her complexion is also improving. She drinks the medicine and hands the bowl back to him, which makes him smile, seeing her recovery progress. If Saiwoo continues improving his proficiency in divine medical arts, he is confident he can cure Seoa's illness. However, the main obstacle is money. He needs to pay the monthly subscription fees for Huadawa and Confucius, which total 1.7 billion won, far more than the savings he currently has. Selling the medicinal decoction would be ideal, but medical supplies cannot be sold without proper certification. Saiwoo decides he will need Soen's help in this matter as well. As he contemplates this, a sudden knock at the door startles them. A man at the door asks if this household belongs to Saiwoo and introduces himself as Kong Min-jae, Charon's personal secretary. They allow him to enter, and after sitting down, Min-jae informs Saiwoo that Chiron wants to re-challenge the dungeon. Saiwoo immediately understands that she requires his help and asks if she wants him to devise a strategy. Min-jae confirms this, and, when Saiwoo inquires about the details of what happened inside the dungeon, apologizes, admitting that he hasn't been informed either. He only knows that Chiron insisted Saiwoo's assistance is absolutely necessary. Min-jae adds that Chiron wanted to come in person, but due to many eyes watching, she could not. He suggests that Saiwoo should at least speak with Chiron. Listening to all of this, Saiwoo senses the surge of popularity he will gain once he participates in the raid mission alongside Chiron.